Hello fellow makeup lovers, how are you guys doing today? I am so excited to be filming this video. I've been waiting all day. The moment I woke up and saw that this palette was out for delivery, I was just like, yes, planning my whole day around it. So I finally have the Flight Club palette from Menagerie. I purchased this on pre-order for the March pre-order. Basically checked out 1 second after it went on the website. So it arrived on March 19th for me, and it is a really beautiful monochromatic purple palette. So cute. I know I saw some mixed opinions about this color story because there's been so many monochromatic palettes that have come out the last year or so that there's a lot of purple monochromatic palettes to choose from, but I still thought that this was really pretty. My two things going into this, one would be that I wish that there was one deeper purple matte in here, and then the second thing would be that I'm a little bit nervous because I don't super love Menagerie's metallic formula, and there's a lot more metallics in here than they normally do in their palettes. So I'm just hoping that I like this formula in this palette and it works out, and that I like majority of the shades. So in today's video, I'm gonna go ahead and do some live swatches, do an eye look with the palette, kind of give you my thoughts so far, and then I also pulled out all of the other palettes that I own from Menagerie, which I have all except one, which was a neutral palette, so it doesn't even really matter right now, but I'm gonna go ahead and do some comparisons just to see if there's anything similar, if you already own other things from Menagerie, where these shades lie, and then maybe I can do like an updated purple palette battle because I feel like there's been a lot of purple palettes that have come out. So if you'd like to see that and see this in comparison with other purple palettes in a different video, please feel free to comment down below. Also, if you're new here, hello, my name is Amy. I do a lot of indie makeup videos. Lots of content about independently owned brands, so if that's something you're into, don't forget to hit that subscribe button before you go. Now let's go ahead and jump on in. Oh, and I forgot to mention, but this is considered a pressed pigment palette, and the back does have a little warning that says this palette contains vegan artistry pressed pigments which may cause staining and skin irritation with certain individuals. Red number 27 and red number 7 are not officially approved by the FDA for use around the immediate eye area. If any irritation occurs, discontinue use. If staining occurs, we recommend using coconut oil or tea tree soap oil for removal. So that's something to keep in mind. I personally normally get a little bit of staining with Menagerie's formula, so I'm kind of used to it, but I don't have any actual sensitivity where my eyes hurt or swell or anything like that. The first shade we have here is called Fruity Feast. Okay, you know what? On first touch, that feels really nice. It feels a little bit smoother than some of the metallics they've done in the past, and it is such a beautiful purple, just absolutely stunning. I feel like I'm definitely going to be using that one. And it looks like it has a tiny little berry on it. At first I thought there was something on my palette. I was trying to wipe it away, and then I was like, oh yeah, that's intentional. Next we have the shade Squeak, which looks like a really beautiful rosy toned brown. I love those kind of shades with purples. There's a very similar kind of color story going on with the Lunar Lavender palette from Kaleidos. They also have some rosy toned browns with their purples in that. And then we have Sky Puppy. That's so cute. I think bats are adorable, just in case anyone's wondering. And that's just a very Barney purple. Okay, I mean, look at that. So pretty. Okay, so right off the bat, get it? Right off the bat? The mattes feel really soft and a little bit more powdery, which is personally what I prefer because Menagerie has had some palettes that feel more powdery and some that feel less powdery. And overall, I prefer the more powdery formula, so feeling them immediately is making me extra excited right off the bat. Okay, next we have the shade Nocturnal, which is a mood. And this looks like it's a purple blue duochrome, super pretty. It does feel like a tiny smidgen more chunky than Fruity Feast, but not bad at all by any means. And then we have Hanging Out. I feel like these names are my favorite so far, which is just a very bright purple metallic, but it's a little bit more satiny than the other metallics I've swatched so far. Next we have Downside Up, which is the most disappointing shade in the palette because it's just a very soft beige, just kind of a waste of space, but that's just how I feel. Okay, you can see that one. It's a little more chunky, but it's still super pretty. The duochrome is not super crazy intense. It's just a little purple to blue, but you can definitely see both shades. Okay, this next shade is called A Little Baddie, which is actually a really interesting purple. It's like a very pinky purple pastel shade. There's a word that's just not popping in my head right now for this kind of shade, but I don't know, maybe I'll leave it on screen if I remember. And then next we have the shade Flighty, which I think this is the deepest matte in here, and it's just like a very bright purple. And then we have Flying Fox, which is a really stunning deep like burgundy purple. I almost just swatched over the beige. I forgot it was there. Okay. Ooh, that shade is so pretty. Definitely more of a pinky purple palette, which I'm not mad about at all because they have their Violet Ink palette, which is now discontinued. But that one was definitely more of a blue, cool tone purple kind of palette in comparison. So I'm glad they're not like super, super similar. Next we have this shade Mega Bat. Ooh, that's really pretty. Okay. Definitely an intense duochrome. It has like a really like bright pinky purple base with a purple blue shift. So in the pan, even though it looks very similar to Hanging Out, this one does look more metallic and it has a shift going on as well, which is really, really pretty. Then we have Winging It, me, every day, my entire life, which is just a really beautiful kind of like mid-tone mauve. Definitely something I could see just throwing through the crease. And maybe doing Nocturnal over the lid, doing a very simple look could be pretty. And then last but not least, we have After Dark, which this looks like another duochrome. It has a, okay, you know what? I'm gonna say this is actually a multi-chrome. You guys can see like a deep purple base, but when I flip it around, I see like a pinky orange, and then there's also like a different kind of orange shift. I see multiple colors going on here, so I'll try and insert something so you guys can see as well. Was not expecting that. Right, so there are the last three shades. I feel pretty excited about this palette after swatching it. I think it looks really, really beautiful in person. Formula feels really nice overall, and I'm just excited to get it on my eyes. See what we can do. I don't even know what look I want to do yet. Just wanted to show you guys that my arm really isn't stained after taking it off. I think there's like a little tiny bit I can see from Flying Fox, the burgundy shade, but overall looks pretty good. And I'm guessing that means it's not going to stain super bad on my eyes, because normally Menagerie's palettes that stain on my eyes also stain my arm. So I already primed my eyes with the Anastasia eye primer, and I'm going to start off with this shade right here called A Little Baddie. As I'm dipping in the pan, there is like just a tiny little bit of kick up, but definitely not bad. It's just kind of in the middle compared to some of their other formulas. Like I said, it's either like more hard pressed or like super soft, and this seems just right in between. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw that through my crease a little higher up as my first transition shade. I'm kind of feeling like a very intense fun eye look. I've been going a lot more soft glam recently. I'm just building that up a little bit through my crease. I think it's nice that even though it is a little bit of a softer color, it's building up pretty vibrant. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and go into the mauve Winging It just a little bit further down with a slightly more tapered crease brush, just right here. Slowly adding some depth because I want to try and use a bunch of shades. I think before I even start my outer V, I'm going to do something just a little bit different than what I normally do. I'm going to take a really tiny little pencil brush, and I'm going to go, should I go more burgundy or more like true purple? I think I'm going to go with Flying Fox just because it's so pretty. And I'm going to start that off on my outer V, or sorry, my lower lash line. And then just slightly kind of go up and just create a little bit of like a wing shape of where I want the shade to go. So it doesn't have to be anything super complicated. It's just giving me like a roadmap. I'm using some more of Flying Fox on a really tiny blending brush and just basically filling in my outer V right there. I really like this shade. It's super pretty. I'm just lightly blending that in. think I might go into just a little tiny bit of Flighty just to see what that does over top. I really wish there was like one more deeper matte in here. Yeah, that's not really gonna do that much. And I don't really want to pull into another palette for a first impression. I think I'm just gonna leave it where it's at. I'm gonna do After Dark all along my entire lower lash line. I wasn't originally drawn to that shade as much, but after seeing it swatched out, I think it's super, super pretty. So I'm gonna try and give it its own little moment and put it right here. For the lid, I think I'm gonna go ahead and start off with a little bit of the shade Mega Bat. I'm just gonna use my finger and kind of keep that on the outer half of the lid. Super pretty. Definitely getting a little tiny bit of fallout though. Honestly, not that bad because I did my face first without even thinking about it. Normally with Menagerie shadows, or their metallics at least, I prefer to either use a glitter primer or do my face afterwards. So the fact that I only have like just a few speckles to fall out is pretty promising. Right now, can't help myself, I'm gonna go into Fruity Feast on the inner portion of my lid. Starting off on the inner corner, and then whatever's left over, I'm gonna blend into the deeper purple. So pretty. I feel like that reminds me of an Adam Sandler movie. So pretty. I don't even remember. Again, only getting like the tiniest little bit of fallout. For the inner corner, I'm gonna go ahead and go into Nocturnal. Pop that right here. Kind of build it up a little bit, just giving it its own moment. Okay, for liner today, I'm going to throw on the We Makeup Endless Silky Eye Pencil in the shade Black into my tight line. Obviously, I love this pencil. And then I'm going to go into the We Makeup More Mascara, and I'll be right back. Okay, so to finish off my face, I pulled out my Arthurine blush palette from Menagerie, and I thought I would go ahead and use this shade right here called Blueberry, because it definitely has a very purple undertone. Oh gosh, I always forget how careful I have to be with this blush palette. Great, okay, let me wipe that brush off. What have I done? Okay, you know what, I think that actually blended out pretty well. Definitely need to be more careful next time. For highlighter, I'm gonna go into Ofra Pillow Talk. Just throwing that at the tops of my cheekbones, my nose, my chin, my other cheekbone. For lips, I'm just gonna go into the Fenty Sweet Mouth Gloss Bomb. All right, so this is the finished look, and I feel so pleasantly surprised. I feel like Menagerie absolutely killed this palette. Like, they just perfected their formula. I feel like so many of the complaints I have had in the past, like these are just, like the mattes are perfectly in between. They're still soft, super pigmented, but they're not too hard pressed, but they're not like falling out of the pan either with how soft they are. They're just like right in the middle. I also really like the metallics. I feel like I had very minimal fallout. They look really, really beautiful. I bet they would look even more stunning over glitter primer, so I'll definitely have to try that next. Let me know, do you want to see the 3 looks with this palette type video? I feel like I said that kind of weird and out of order, but I'm really happy, especially because I bought this palette specifically to review because I knew you guys wanted to hear my thoughts on it. But I'm like, dang, this is actually really, really nice. And I mean, it's definitely not a tame purple palette. There's like 2 pops of neutral, these 2 shades here. So overall, I feel like you could do so many different super bright, playful looks with this. So I'm excited about it. Let's go ahead and do some comparisons. So I've got all my other palettes from them right here. First, I have the Feral palette, and here is what this one looks like. Mine is a little different because I have the top row. I have a shade that's not available anymore. It was in the original palette, but they changed it. But here's what it looks like next to the Flight Club palette. So the only thing I could really see comparing here is the shade Allium to the shade Flighty. So here's what Allium looks like, and here is Flighty. So they do look similar, swatched out, but they're not quite the same undertone Allium has like a little bit more vibrance to it, and it has a little bit less depth. Next we have the Killer Purr palette, which just looks like this. The only thing I'm thinking is even remotely similar is Chase to Squeak, but Chase is definitely more of an orangey brown and Squeak is more of a rose tone brown, so I just don't feel like they're going to be that similar. But there's what those two look like. All right, next we have the Pastel Pup palette, which is their pastel palette. Obviously, we've got a little bit of purple in here, but don't really see anything all that similar. I think the purples and the pink and even the black would be really complementary to the Flight Club palette, but I don't think there's even anything to compare. They're quite different. Okay, next we have the Dragon Child palette, which says Makeup Monster Cosmetics because that was their original name a while ago, and this was their original palette. I don't think that this is available anymore, but if you do have it, or I'm not sure if these are available as singles anymore either, but here is what that one looks like. I'm pleasantly surprised that there's not even that many shades that I feel are close. Like, they're doing a pretty good job at not repeating themselves, because looking between these, I thought we've got these purples here, but they're very, very cool toned purples. So again, not really much to swatch. And then last but not least, the most comparable palette is going to be the Violet Ink Little Mini palette, which is discontinued. Mine broke a little bit, so it's messy, but here is what it looks like. Between these two, I feel like I'm going to swatch 3 hearts next to Hanging Out because those look a little bit similar. I feel like we could do Iron Grip next to Wingin' It. Like I said, Violet Ink is so much more cool toned. Man, did I say I was doing 3 hearts next to Hanging Out or Megabat? I can't remember. Maybe I'll just do them both. So here's 3 hearts, Hanging Out, and Megabat. Here is Iron Grip and Wingin' It. So overall, I personally feel like the Flight Club is very unique to the Menagerie collection. Like I said, I'll have to do a comparison in a future video to other purple palettes, but if you have a bunch of stuff from Menagerie, this is different. So that is everything for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed this first impression and found it helpful, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.